It is now 20 minutes to 7. In case you're joining us now, welcome aboard. This is Morning Express, and it's time for us to now look at the dailies. Joining me to, go through the dailies and then get into the discussion of the day, we have Ambrose Weda, who is a lawyer. Good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
I hope you had a good weekend and a good Madaraka day. Long weekend it was.
Yeah, it was great.
Okay.
We spent it in Kochia in South Nyanza.
In South Nyanza.
Then yesterday I was at Mombasa.
Okay. Well, we get straight into the dailies, and we'll start off with the Standard, where the headline is Empire Millions Governor Left to Family in Will. Now, this is the former governor for Nyeri, the late Gachagua, who left it was quite a lot of money's worth to his family. But what is unique and what is different in this particular will that he had is some of the wealth was not left just to his immediate family, but to some of his extended family, some of his stepbrothers, some children that apparently he sired out of wedlock were not left out. And this is quite unique. Majority of the men who leave their wealth normally leave it with their immediate family only.
Yeah, I think that is very laudable. But you can trace, is a man who was not a politician. But people picked him and elected him. There must have been something unique, special about him. And that kind of gesture, I think, is a lesson to some of us who have amassed millions of shillings. In fact, some of them should distribute the money even before they die. Before they die. And,
yes. Well, what's unique also is the fact that at least he had a will, because normally we've had families that are left without a will and are left fighting it out. And you can imagine yes. Now, especially for children like those who possibly he sired out of wedlock, would be left out and would be seen basically to be clamoring for wealth. But he was gentleman enough yes. to ensure that he left everybody something. 2 billion worth, which is not pocket change.
Yeah, actually, a will is very critical. Very, very critical. But the fear of the will. For instance, when you have a will and some of your rogue children discover that Daddy has left for me 100 million in the bank, and he continues to live. In other words, continue to spend the money. Then they want to dispatch you to the next world quickly.
Give you an early exit of
yes.
life.
So in the African context, that brings fear of the will. Because somehow, if you write a will, somebody will get to know you are a lawyer, and then blah, blah, and then he'll keep on saying, my share. And then also, we keep on threatening. If I have written a will and you annoy me, I'll say, at that rate, I'll change my will.
You'll change your will. And maybe now that we're on that, maybe yes. just very quick advice on how to, write a will and what the procedure is. Because some might fear the yes. fact that you have already written it can leave you, not at peace with those who discover that possibly you've not left them what they would imagine they deserve.
Actually, a will is basically a document where you share your assets. You write it, you sign it, and it is before witnesses. And if you get a good quality lawyer who will keep your secret, it's a document you write, and then you keep on updating it. There are basic legal requirements. Some of it is that those who depend on you, you must provide for them. You must. If you leave somebody out, it makes the will, it can actually make the will be thrown out. But if you leave something in accordance with the relations, in other words, if you have a rogue son or a rogue daughter, you provide, but kidogo. If you have the favorite one, you provide...
You're more generous.
More generous, but you must provide. So it is decent, it is good. And for the sake of peace in the family, normally the wills are very good.
It's the final word that yes. You leave at least with them so that they're not left fighting.
Yes.
All right, on page 5, we have a rather disturbing story of what happened over the weekend. This was on Saturday. Questions still linger at Moi Girls as it is closed. And of course, Moi Girls, it's not the first time that it's on the headlines or in the news for the wrong reasons. Remember, this was the same school where a fire broke out after arson and a number of students died out of this. But now this is a rape that took place on Saturday and the school has been closed. Of course, bringing to the fore quite a number of issues, one of them being security.
I think it's very sad and my heart goes out because some of the children belong to some of my friends or relatives. But I think administration must take responsibility. I have the privilege of chairing the board of management of Nyakach Girls High School. And the responsibility of ensuring that the girls are secure, they perform well, and they are orderly is basically not only on the principal, but the entire team. Like today, we are in an era where every institution must have a CCTV. You spend a lot of money, but it is there. Other than that, it is the responsibility of that team to ensure that every girl is safe. So as we close down the school and then we deal with the principal, we also must deal with the board chairman and the board members for negligence, because now it is the law which has imposed on them that responsibility. So when you take it, you take it to ensure the girls are safe. This school is jinxed. The other day they had fire, and then they just closed down, and the brass started saying, I didn't see heads rolling. Heads should have rolled, new boards should have come in, some people should have been held in court. You get it?
But here we are again with another story.
Now another story, and I didn't even see them calling interdenominational prayer so that we cleanse the demons and so on. I think responsibility from the ministry coming down. You crack down on the board, you crack down on some of the teachers, and then certain security measures ought to be in place.
Ought to be taken. And what does this tell us? And especially being a school that is in the city, one that you'd expect at least security would be, well enhanced. Again, not clear whether it was a total intruder, whether possibly it is somebody on the inside. Could it be one of the workers who could have committed this crime?
I think the crime we are talking about, that one of rape, should be on the mind of every teacher, every governor. And being in the city where crime is brewed every day, the level of alertness is a lot higher. So you see a high degree of negligence. You see a high degree of, I think I don't care. And it is shocking. It is shocking for parents, for the country. And it is giving our schools a bad name.
A bad name. Allow me to also introduce now our other guest, and that's Honorable William Kamket, who is a member of parliament for Tiaty. Good morning, and thank you for joining us this morning for the newspaper review, and of course, the subject for the day on the way it is. But maybe your thoughts, just to get your thoughts on this particular school and what it says and what needs to be done, especially because this could be an example and only a sample of the insecurity that is there in schools, and possibly the other schools that may be facing a similar, danger.
Well, good morning. I have just read and heard in news about this school. I do not know much about the background, but I believe, like my colleague here has said, there could be much more than meets the eye in terms of it could. Maybe inside issues that need to be investigated. And I'm happy that the ministry has taken the decisive step to close the school and look into the real issues. But it's a very unfortunate incident. Yeah.
All right. Let's also look at page 8 of the newspaper. History as Uhuru flags off tankers carrying crude oil. Could this be a new day for Kenya? Looking at Kenya being one of the first East African country to have started oil, and possibly looking forward to be one of the exporters. Maybe starting with you, Honorable Kamket, your thoughts on this, and possibly is it a new dawn for Kenya?
Indeed, it is. I am happy that finally we have something good coming from the northern side of Kenya, which has been Turkana, and generally that region has been regarded as less Kenyan than the other sections of the country. Remember the sessional paper number 10 that said that development of the country should be along the highlands and that kind of stuff. And so I'm happy that finally God has opened up, so to speak, that part of Kenya. And I'm a neighbor to Turkana. I heard yesterday what the president said. I am happy that with this now, with the commercial value of the products coming from that region, some of the underlying issues, including insecurity and gun trading and kind of stuff, will get a chance to be addressed comprehensively. Some of the underlying and long-standing boundary issues, like the infamous Capedo issue, shall be addressed. I'm only. I also want to take this opportunity to urge the government to consider doing the road from my constituency headquarters, Chemolingo, through Capedo to Lokori. It will cut the distance by half. Instead of going all the way to Kapenguria, Kitale, and this is the shortcut. And when doing that, we shall have sorted issues that affect the communities
in that area. And what difference do you think this would make, especially to do with security? Because it's something that has been protracted. It's gone on for a while.
Indeed.
Would this possibly make any difference? What is it that the government would do that they haven't tried to do so far?
Before that, before this discovery of oil, and I'm aware even in my county, Baringo, also, there is a very active exploration of oil. That entire belt, Turkana, Pokot, Samburu, that has been, for a long time, the savage backwood of society. And such that things happen, communities clash, there is very minimal presence of government. So now, with this renewed and with this, the commercial value of the products coming from that place, I believe it's going to be a game changer in terms of addressing the issues that affect the people in those sides of Kenya. It's going to be a game changer completely. And now, with the geothermal being done in Baringo and Turkana also, neighboring, there is a lot that's going to change in terms of addressing the issues, the long-standing issues, boundary issues, cat rustling, and that kind of stuff. In lack of education, that the issues that have been affecting us as a people, I am sure in due course, those things must, as of necessity, be addressed.
All right.
Given the commercial value of what we have.
That's found there. What are your thoughts on the discovery of oil? There are some who say that even the wars that we have in Africa are mainly because of the resources. If you look at, say, for instance, country like DRC,
yes,
there has been a lot of war, mainly to do with the riches that they have. Is this a good thing for Kenya, or might it be another reason why we'll be targeted by the West?
I think it is a cause for celebration. It's a cause that we must celebrate and be very grateful to God that we are extracting some of these resources and entering into a new era in the world. And it's a cause for celebration because it's coming later when other countries have had experiences with natural resources and how they have handled it and how it had turned out. So that the lessons we have learned from Nigeria, from Congo, from some of these countries, we should put measures so that we do not land where they are. For instance, you can see that we have started with very good laws on revenue sharing and on dealing with this. Part of the problem that makes oil a curse is the theft, the stealing. People just decide. You heard the president yesterday saying, some people are saying this 5% hii ni kitu ya chai tu gawe. And it is not the 5. When you hear 5%, it is 5% of billions of dollars. So people become very rich, and then they become barons, and then they start controlling regions, and they keep war. We have started very well, and I think is a cause for celebration. We also urge leaders like my brother here to ensure that at the county level, when revenues come, it is used to improve the lives of people, so that cattle rustling and so on, some of these are because of ingrained cultural beliefs, including poverty, so that you think that your survival is basically on cattle or goats. If we improve lives and we do the roads we're talking about, we improve things, then people will be shepherded into modern life. We want leaders not to share the 5%. Ensure, promise Kenyans, you'll ensure the 5%,
5% is distributed equally.
Yes.
And I want us to wind up for the newspaper review, but first of all, let's look at the Daily Nation, where the headline is Raila's new tack in reform push, but also it continues on page 4 and 5, and this is queries being raised on ODM's ability to spearhead reforms. Yeah, let me start with you, Weda, on your thoughts on ODM's ability to spearhead reforms. Of course, we know that part of the formation of NASA was because there are certain reforms that they wanted to come up with, but that seems to be crumbling, especially after the handshake.
I think we must accept that a new chapter has been opened. And that chapter is not the chapter of wars and fights and dismantling institutions for others. It's a chapter where I think the President and Honorable Raila Odinga says, let us reconstruct using new methods. Let us see if cooperation together can work. When Honorable Raila cooperated with Moi for a short while, it was a lot much better. Even politically went much higher than the wilderness that they had been in for all these years. So ODM, as we talk, is basically Honorable Raila. So those are the people behind the curtain purporting to be ODM fighting for reforms. You know, that's nothing. It is Honorable Raila, and he has said, let us cooperate. If there's need to amend the constitution, they'll work together with the president. And they'll come to Kenya and say, let us amend. The current constitution was brought in on the basis of cooperation. It was not on the basis of people fighting for it. We fought for it during the Bomas draft, it collapsed. Even earlier it collapsed, so it will not.
Let me hear Mheshimiwa's thoughts before we wind up and wind up the newspaper review.
This is a constitutional moment. The handshake, the hugs, and the I call it the 0 hour. We are all back, we are all now at ground zero. There is nobody ahead or below or what. It's a 0 hour, and it's a moment that this is the moment to look at the laws. This is the moment to look at the constitution. This is the moment, because we are all in agreement that let's work together. So therefore, if we are working together,
what is it
that's
works
okay.
for Kenya?
We must therefore look at the issues that have always divided us. Why is the electoral contest so vicious? Why? What is it that makes us fight so badly for that position of president?
And allow me to pause you there, because I want us to take a very short break, then we come back and we'll start the way it is from right there. And this is the point where I would like to release KTN home, but KTN News will continue with this conversation this morning on the way it is. And do we have a tougher president, or is he just speaking tougher? What are the differences? And also we'll be looking at that question of the day today. So for now, we want to release KTN home, but on KTN News, we continue with this conversation after the break.